All right, everybody. Today I'm going to tackle the subject of self-defense for women. My name is Bill Jones. I am the head instructor of top-level martial arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. Coming at you today, I am a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer. I've been training martial arts since I was 5 years old. Um, I have military training. I have a lot of self-defense training. Worked with police and a lot of people who've been in tough situations over the years. Um, so, self defense for women. I think a lot of people approach this idea in a completely wrong capacity. They're worried more about techniques. They're worried more about like teaching you to poke the eyes and kick the groin. And I'm going to be honest, if you're a fully grown woman and I have to tell you that poking someone in the eyes hurts or kicking a man in the groin hurts, I don't think you've been paying attention in life. Like, obviously, those things hurt. And if you can grab and squeeze, you grab and squeeze. If you can poke, you poke. But that's not really what self defense is. Self defense happens way before those situations even come into play. And there's honestly much better methods of self defense than just trying to poke at someone's eyes, which is more likely to upset them than it is to actually cause any real damage because the minute they close their eyes, your ability to harm them goes down exponentially. All right, so I'm going to bring you my top 5 things that I think that you should do, and give some caveats with them. Number 5, learn to shoot. All right, so this is a tough topic for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like guns. They don't believe in guns. They don't want to use them. So if you don't worry. We can talk about this in a minute. But if you're going to learn to shoot, you have to go way farther than just getting your CCW because a CCW, which is a concealed carry permit or concealed carry weapon, that permit, all that, it's a very, very basic class to get it. It teaches you how to handle a gun safely. It teaches you the proper tips for using a gun and some ideas on how to fire it and to aim. But that's about it. If you're going to carry a weapon that can kill another human being, including yourself, because remember, any weapon you're holding can be used against you if taken off of you, then you need to do far more than just learn how to like just pick it up and point it and shoot it. So I highly recommend that if you're going to get to the route where you're going to carry a weapon, that you buy a proper holster, that you make it accessible. Don't just carry it in your purse. Like, you're not going to be able to access your purse. Some dude comes and tackles you and starts to rape you or pull you away. The ability of you to access your purse is probably going to go bye-bye. It's probably going to be the first thing they take off of you. So you need to carry that in a holster. You need to carry it somewhere where you can access that weapon, and you need to practice accessing that weapon on a regular basis. I would argue you need to practice accessing the weapon more than you need to practice shooting the weapon. Shooting, it's the easy part. Point, pull trigger. Okay? Especially in close range situations. Accessing it is the tough part. So you need to find the right type of holster, and I recommend different types of holsters. Women's outfits make it so that like different outfits are going to require different holsters. So I highly recommend that you do a lot of research into that before you decide to just carry a weapon around. All right, so let's say that you don't like to carry guns or that you don't believe in the use of guns. Fine. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is carry some sort of pepper spray or similar item. Maybe it's a taser. Any of those things are fine. Again, the number one thing you need to practice with that is accessing it, making sure that it's available to you when you're going to need it. And chances are, you're not going to need it when you think you're going to need it. Like, everybody wants to carry it around when they're in like a dark parking lot. But remember that that's not when most sexual assaults happen. Most sexual assaults happen by someone that the victim knows and in a situation, in a place that they're familiar with. So, like, you need to make sure that you're going to have that available to you even in those situations. So you're at a friend's party, you're at a house of a place where maybe the husband's of a friend is going to come on to you, or maybe it's the husband's brother or something like that. You need to be ready to access that anytime you want. And most people just put it on their keychain, which stays in their purse, and that goes in on the table or wherever, and then when you're alone, you don't have it. So it's better to put it in a pocket or have a little thing that you can put on a belt and just keep it with you at all times. The other thing to know about tasers and pepper sprays especially, is that when you fire that, you're going to get hit with it too. So don't expect that you're going to fire that and it's going to get in their face and that you're not going to get any of that. It sucks. So I highly recommend that if you are going to get that, get with a professional. A lot of police have a lot of training with stuff like this, and learn the safe way to do this, but you need to feel the effects of it. You need to know what it's going to do so that when you're exposed to it, you don't freak out. Because if you get exposed to it the first time when you're trying to save your own life, you might freak out too. And then you're still in the same situation. You're both just incapacitated, and he's maybe just more angry. Same thing with a taser. Make sure that you know how to use it so that you don't accidentally shock yourself. But those are some good things that you can do. Carry pepper spray or a taser, some sort of non-lethal self-defense item. But remember, it has to be on you. Number 3, know your boundaries early. And here's what I mean by that. Most, and when I say most, I mean like 75% of sexual assaults are committed by someone the victim knows. So that might be an acquaintance, it might be a lover, it might be like someone who's romantically interested in you, but it's usually someone you know. It's not usually someone in a dark parking lot that you've never met before or anything like that. So with that said, it's really important to understand what your boundaries are early. And what I mean is, these people are going to try to desensitize you. They're going to try to desensitize you by using alcohol or drugs. So, to that knowledge, like part of your boundaries is knowing that if I walk away from my drink, I'm not going to drink it anymore because I don't, it's not safe now. Or even like tell I don't know, just keep it with a friend, someone who you trust implicitly. But, you don't want to leave a drink out so that someone can just throw something in it that's going to knock you out later. And there's a lot of things. I mean, melatonin is over the counter, and melatonin can knock you out, like it doesn't take much. So anyway, be very aware of what's in your drinks and stuff like that. But more importantly, be very aware of what you're going to allow different people to do, because once they desensitize you, it's really hard to understand your boundaries and to make them up on the fly. And what I mean by that is, you get the guy who maybe he puts his arm around you and you kind of squirm out and you're like, and he's like, oh, you're just overreacting. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And then next thing you know, they're doing it again later and maybe even closer to you, right? Like, so they're testing your boundaries. They're seeing how far you're going to let them go and how much desensitization it takes to get you to that point. So that is a very dangerous thing. And if you're trying to figure out what those boundaries are, like, maybe I am in a safe place, maybe I'm just overreacting. No, know your boundaries. Who's allowed to put their arm around you? Who's allowed to hug you? More importantly, make sure that your daughters know their boundaries, right? Hey, Uncle Joe's, he's your uncle, I get it. He's allowed to give you a hug, but I don't like it when he kisses you, so don't let him give you a kiss on the cheek or anything like that, And then you tell Uncle Joe, hey, don't be giving my daughter kisses on the cheek. Not your kid. Or whoever. I'm just making up a name. But knowing those boundaries early is really, really, really important. Number two is learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically, and there's a reason for that. I think boxing is great. I think kickboxing is great. I think all martial arts are great. They all have a lot of value. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically deals with ground situations. And I think when it comes to sexual assault, most women tend to get overpowered, put to the ground. And until you've felt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was training with someone just last night with it. Until you've honestly felt it, there's no way to understand the levels that there are to it. I was training with a guy last night. He's a Marine Corps veteran, taught Marines martial arts and everything. And he was tough, strong, young, fit guy. And he really thought he was going to do okay. And he was amazed. His exact words were, I had no idea that there were so many different levels to this. And when a woman learns Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, she's going to understand how to deal with someone who's in between her legs. And that's where a sexual assault needs to happen, right? So she's going to learn how to choke people unconscious from there. She's going to learn how to get people off of her from there. She's going to learn how to stand up from there. And then learn some basic strikes, some knee strikes and some elbows and things like that that are real basic and easy to execute. It does take a long time to get good at, which is why I think that the pepper spray and learning to shoot and stuff, that has to be part of it, right? But if you're in your own home and maybe your husband's boss is over for dinner or whatever, and he starts to come on to you and your husband's in the next room, and like this guy's covering your mouth and making it hard to scream, or maybe your husband's downstairs and there's they're partying or whatever. Point is, you're alone with this person who's trying to hurt you. You probably won't have your weapon with you. You probably won't have your gun. You probably won't have a knife. You probably won't have pepper spray or a taser. You need to have something to fall back on. And striking is highly dependent upon mass. Just basic physics. Yes, a small person can strike hard, but it's relative to their size. And if they get lucky, they can hit hard and maybe knock someone out. But it's very unlikely to happen. I'm a 260-pound man. It's very unlikely that a 140-pound woman is going to hit me and knock me out. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teaches you how to use leverage to deal with that and to nullify those attacks. It takes a long time to get good at, though. So you have to be committed to it. You can't just come into it, for a one-day class and be like, okay, I know what to do now. You can get educated in that time. And you can learn a lot of things that I'm talking about now. You can learn about moving in groups. You can learn about being aware. You can learn about trusting your instincts. But as far as useful self-defense, even if you're not taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're taking karate or taekwondo or Aiki Jiu-Jitsu or any kind of martial art, that's a perishable skill that you have to train over and over again forever. And it's hard for people to commit to that, I understand. But it will save your life. It's that simple. All right, number 1, travel and stay in groups. The number one thing that happens when someone gets a stranger attack, and what I mean is, previous to this, I've discussed how often the sexual assaults happen for someone a non-stranger. But with a stranger attack, they're going to try to separate you from your group. So you need to travel and stay in groups, and you need to commit to that. And I always tell everybody, you need to have a sober buddy. We used to call this a designated driver, right? But you need to have a designated sober person in your group, even if you're planning on taking Uber. Or some Uber whoa, police are outside. Okay. Even if you're planning on using Uber or anything like that, you need to have someone sober so that there can be someone saying, hey, you're not going with that guy. No, you came here with us, you're leaving with us. And that's so important. I think the most striking case of this was the Natalie Holloway case, which took place in Aruba, where two men were able to convince Natalie Holloway to leave her group. They let her leave. She died. And it's tragic. It's tragic. But if you want to stay safe, you've got to stay in groups. It's not fair, but it's the way it is. So stay in groups, friends that you know and trust. Uber's great. All those things are great, but you need someone who's sober with you so that they can help you out. And then, of course, being the sober person would be even more ideal, because then you're unlikely to get persuaded to do things you wouldn't normally do anyway. But I understand people like to party. You like to have some alcohol, and some people need that. So if you're not going to be sober, make sure that someone in your group is. So guys, those are my 5 tips. Number 5, learn to shoot and access your weapon on a regular basis. Number 4 is carry some sort of personal protective device, such as a knife, pepper spray, or taser. Number 3 is know your boundaries. Set them now while you're not drinking. Write them down and say, hey, this is where someone's allowed to touch me. This is what I'm going to allow in different situations. Number 2, learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And number 1, stay and travel in groups. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful to you. Take it easy.